Rain fell in silver sheets against the naval base gate as a young woman wheeled herself through the checkpoint. Her left leg trembled with effort. The metal brace gleamed faintly beneath her jeans. She moved slowly, too slowly for the soldiers waiting behind her. One of them sighed loudly. Another muttered, "Maybe she should stay home if she can't keep up." Laughter followed, cruel, careless, but the woman didn't look back. She straightened her back, adjusted the strap on her weathered backpack, and continued forward. There was something in her calmness, an unspoken strength that no one there could read. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Her name was Elena Ward. To the soldiers around her, she was just another civilian trying to access the training facility for a tour. What they didn't know was that Elena had grown up on that very base. Her father, Admiral Jonathan Ward, commander of the Atlantic Fleet, had once walked these same halls. Years ago, a car crash had taken her mobility and her mother in the same night. Since then, Elena had chosen to live quietly, far from military titles and salutes. But today, she'd come back, for closure. As she approached the main gate, one of the guards, a broad man named Hensley, stepped forward. "You lost, ma'am?" he asked, his tone halfway between mockery and authority. "I have clearance," Elena replied softly, presenting her ID. Hensley glanced at it, then smirked. "Visitors use the side entrance. Can't have you holding up active personnel." A few of his comrades chuckled. One of them added, "Maybe we should call a wheelchair taxi for her." Their laughter echoed down the corridor. Elena's fingers tightened around her wheels. The humiliation burned deep, but she said nothing. Her father's voice, calm, steady, commanding, echoed in her mind. "Grace is power restrained." So she nodded, turned her chair, and began to roll toward the side entrance. But not everyone was laughing. From the upper deck of the command post, Commander Riley Shaw, a SEAL recently reassigned from active duty, had witnessed the exchange. His jaw clenched. He had seen soldiers break under fire with more dignity than those mocking her now. He started down the stairs, his boots hitting the metal steps with deliberate weight. The laughter faded as he approached. "Is there a problem here?" he asked quietly. Hensley straightened. "No, sir. Just directing a visitor." Riley's eyes flicked to the ID in Hensley's hand. Then his gaze froze. "Wirt," he whispered. Then louder, as in Admiral Ward. The guard stiffened. Elena turned, confusion flickering in her eyes. "You knew my father?" Riley nodded slowly. "I served under him in the Pacific. He saved my unit more than once." He looked at Hensley, his tone sharpening. "And you just mocked his daughter." The silence that followed was deafening. The rain had stopped, but no one dared move. Riley stepped closer and knelt slightly beside Elena. "Ma'am," he said, his voice soft but resolute. "On behalf of this base, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been treated like that." For the first time, Elena's composure wavered. Her lips trembled. "I didn't come here for apologies. I came to visit my father's memorial." Riley's throat tightened. "Then allow me to escort you." And so, through the courtyard and down the hall lined with portraits of fallen officers, Commander Riley Shaw walked beside the woman everyone had just mocked. Each turn of her wheelchair echoed like a heartbeat in the quiet hall. When they reached the Admiral's memorial, an engraved brass plate beneath a flag, Elena stopped. Her eyes glistened. "He always told me the Navy's true strength wasn't in ships," she said, "but in how it treats the smallest soul under its command." Behind them, the guards, ashen and silent, watched. One of them removed his cap, then another. By the time Elena whispered her father's name, every soldier in that corridor stood at attention. Later that afternoon, the story spread across the base, not as gossip, but as lesson. Those who had mocked her were ordered to report for retraining, and the Admiral's daughter, the woman they had dismissed as weak, was invited to speak at the next graduation ceremony. When she took the stage, dressed simply but with quiet authority, she looked out over the rows of young recruits and said, "Courage isn't always about battlefields. Sometimes it's about dignity when others forget theirs. The room erupted in applause. Even the men who had laughed now stood with tears in their eyes. That evening, as the sun set behind the base and the flag lowered slowly, Commander Shaw walked Elena to her car. "Your father would have been proud," he said quietly. Elena smiled, looking toward the horizon. "He taught me that rank fades, but respect doesn't." The wind stirred, carrying the scent of salt and sea, as if the Admiral himself were listening, because respect isn't a title. It's a choice we make every day. And sometimes it takes the quietest voice to remind the loudest hearts what honor truly means. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. If this story moved you, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and subscribe to Whispered Words for more stories that remind us what courage and humanity truly mean.